Top 10 Domestic Violence Essay Topics. Domestic violence as a social and public health problem. Domestic violence is the abusive behavior of one or more members in a domestic setting. Being a public health issue, it affects the health of the victims in one way or another. For example, pregnant women who are the victims of domestic violence are put in high health danger. Emotional effects like depression and social isolation are also health issues of concern. These are some of the problems you could focus on in your essay. Effects of domestic violence on children. Family violence is a term that can be used to describe the various forms of violence that happen within a family setup. The most common types of violence are slaps, pushes, sexual abuse, battering, and abusive words. Though there is a commonly accepted agreement that certain forms of violence can be legitimized as the necessary punishment to discipline a child, some scholars argue that all forms negatively affect child development. Domestic violence in the African American community. It is commonly accepted that many African American people have experienced domestic violence, almost 30% of women and 12% of men, according to some scholars. In an essay on the topic, you can look at the effects of domestic violence on the day-to-day lives of individuals from the African American community. Art therapy with women who have suffered domestic violence. With the rise of domestic violence cases worldwide, it is essential to undertake a program to provide therapy to women who have suffered the ordeal. Art therapy is very effective in healing any type of abuse, especially domestic violence. One of the most significant benefits of art therapy is that the patients get to understand and interpret their situations. This experience puts them in a better position to creatively participate in their healing process. Impact of the economic status on domestic violence. In an essay on this topic, we suggest that you explore how financial stress, unemployment, and unequal power dynamics can contribute to domestic violence. It would be great if you added real-life examples or scholarly case studies that illustrate the impact of economic factors on the prevalence and severity of domestic violence. Financial planning and management for domestic violence victims. What are the financial challenges faced by domestic violence victims? Why is it important for them to be economically empowered? In an essay about the topic, we suggest exploring strategies for building financial independence. Budgeting, savings, accessing resources, and establishing credit are some ideas. Same-sex domestic violence problem. Domestic violence in gay or lesbian relationships is serious since its rates are almost equivalent to those in heterosexual relationships. It is even more challenging for LGBT families as they must tackle various difficulties when accessing help services. These findings suggest that domestic violence in same-gendered relationships should be given increased attention. Domestic violence and child's brain development. Exposure to violence in childhood may have long consequences. Although children up to a certain age seem not to understand what is happening, their brain is influenced, which may result in deviant behavior later. For example, the children who witness domestic violence can demonstrate physical violence themselves. They abuse younger, smaller, or more vulnerable individuals. Another development of observing violence in early childhood may be suicidal behavior. Family and domestic violence legislation in the U.S. Regardless of significant challenges in developing and applying legislation in domestic abuse, there have been impressive changes in protecting women against domestic violence. As for now, there is an operational federal law and numerous state laws, such as Minnesota Abuse Act. This combination of legal acts is an adequate foundation for coping with domestic violence, especially considering the overall decreased rape rate and increased number of those convicted due to their violent actions. Domestic violence and bullying in schools. What is the connection between domestic violence and bullying in schools? Answering this question, you can discuss the potential impact of witnessing domestic violence on children's behavior and their involvement in bullying. Another idea is to analyze bullying prevention strategies, educational and awareness campaigns, safe and supportive school environments, etc.